This is no man we are dealing with.
Hello and welcome, it's Carnage. We are taking a look at Overkill. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, with Overkill, they went right for the extreme, which is, I guess, his final form as an android. Well, as primarily an android, I think the only thing left is part of his head. He's got some really cool attachments, so I just went ahead and, to get started, went ahead and put a couple of those on. As you see here, the claw on his arm, which is quite a bit different from the claw that we have with the bats. Mine was a little bit loose, and I had to firm it up with a little bit of sticky tack to get it to stay in place. No big deal, but it is a little bit, I guess, I hate to say it, but it's a little bit flimsy, and I'm worried about its longevity. And another attachment here is this, I guess it's a machine gun attachment on his arm that can go on either of his arms. You just have to pull the hand off. And the other thing that I noticed about him right away is like his hands are a soft, rubbery material, which works good for sticking guns and things in his hands. But that's in contrast to the rest of the body, which is this hard plastic. I mean, it's got no give. That's the same hard plastic that they use for the bats, for the Cobra bats, the battle android troopers. So my thinking is with any of these androids, they're going to use that harder plastic, and that's something that I've noticed that they also will do with Marvel Legends. So in terms of posability, it's a little bit tough to work with. It's stiff, and it's just a little tougher to work with than the material that has a little bit more give. We'll get into some more of his accessories here, and the big surprise, which is the chest cannon. I really enjoy the color variations that we get with the black and the neon green against the gold and the red, with a few more black details here and there, and moving up to what I think is a pretty amazing head sculpt. I don't know if it's one of the most amazing head sculpts that we've seen, but it's certainly one of my favorites already. We need to pull that mask off. And one thing I'm going to say about that mask is that it comes off real easy, a little bit too easy for my liking. Like, you pull the hands off and suddenly the mask goes flying and you don't know where it is. So be really careful if you're putting attachments on him, doing anything like that. Pull that mask off, set it down somewhere. You'll thank me later. Okay, so that said, the articulation is a little tricky and a little bit challenging. You may want to take a hairdryer to this guy, get him nice and loosened up, because those joints are stiff. They are all pretty stiff. As you see here, some more accessories. I've got the other hand there, as well as a blade, and he's got this big gun. As a big gun. I'm assuming it's a laser gun. Let's pop that on and see what it looks like, and let's get that mask popped off. Okay, so I didn't specify which gun, so I'm talking about the chest gun right now. I guess you'd call it a chest cannon, and there's a cavity there that this gun folds down and pulls out from. It sits just a little lopsided, but I believe that's the way it's intended to sit, and I think it looks fine. I don't think I put two blast effects in there. I think one is sufficient, but you certainly could put two in there if you wanted to. And the camera keeps drawing towards that head sculpt, so let's check it out. This is all that's left of Robert Skelton, who was the original Saw Viper. And then he had a later look, I guess as a mercenary type, with the scarf over his face, and then something terrible happened, and he integrated with prototype bat technology that proved to be too expensive to implement throughout the bats, but certainly enough for Overkill. who is the guy who's sort of the general for the bats. And I remember reading that he has sort of a emotional connection to the bats as well, and sort of treats them as his children, if you will. So it looks like both of his eyes are functional, and he's got a gnarly looking expression on his face and a scowl on his mouth is in a nasty scowl, teeth bared, and you see enough skin to see some damage, and it also has a very pale look, as if he's been spending a lot of time in a laboratory. There we go. Look at that face. My, great work. I don't know if it's quite as stunning as Major Blood, but it's right up there. Major Blood, Scrap Iron, two of those really gnarly head sculpts. And this one really is right up there. I just love the look of the gold against the pale skin. And there's sort of a couple of interesting little details over here on the side, again, with that, here we go. This is what I was talking about. I guess it's sort of a wire that's coming out of the side of his head. You do have, of course, a port there to put a backpack in, but he does not have a backpack. Very mechanical looking. I guess that's the idea. I love the look. Futuristic, certainly. I think this guy could work well outside of G.I. Joe Classified. You just have a cool robot overall. He's very tall. Let's size him next to a bat just to get an idea. And then we'll take a look at that big laser cannon that he's got. All right, Overkill being the general of the bats. We do a little side-by-side size comparison as we also take a look at that weapon of his. And a reminder that how great that version 1 gung-ho's weapons look in the hands of a bat. The silver weapons are absolutely perfect, and they suck for everybody else, but they're perfect for those bats. So as you see, he's almost maybe half a head taller, and definitely has a much wider profile. Front shoulders are much wider apart than that bat. He's a big guy. Kind of dwarfs those bats, but that's appropriate. He should be towering over them. How about those mechanical feet? Those are really well done, I think. At any rate, you have some cool purple details on this weapon that give it the look of sort of powering up, and it's very futuristic, maybe the most futuristic looking gun so far, aside from perhaps sci-fi in the line, but this is a futuristic character. Everything about him is futuristic and elite, the best of the best. This guy is dangerous, and putting him in charge of the bats gives them a bit of a human edge. And obviously this is a guy who can handle the idiosyncrasies and the dangers of the bats. I'm always hesitant to pose any regular cobras anywhere near a bat, because what we do know is they'll attack anything that's moving on the battlefield. And obviously there's some way that Overkill is able to not get killed by his bats, and maybe some sort of a software something. I don't know. Who can explain that? I think it's an interesting element and an interesting part of the control that Overkill has over these bats. So that's certainly going to be the thing that I'll be focusing in on with him. And certainly great shots in the lab, certainly great fight shots. This guy, I don't know who could really handle him. Who can handle Overkill, and who would be a natural nemesis for him? Some things to ponder. I really like this figure. From a photography standpoint, it's a 10 for me. I've been waiting on this guy for a long time. I love the options that we get. Not the best presentation there from my perspective, but he is a little bit delicate. Those little doors on his chest are very thin, and you have to be really careful with those. Again, that mask pops off really easy. I use a little piece of extra sticky tack just to hold it on there and give it a little insurance. And again, I would recommend warming this guy's joints with the hair dryer before you pull him out and pose him. But high marks for the photography potential with him, not quite so high marks for the posability and articulation with that harder plastic. But I'm excited to shoot him. Already have a lot of photos to share. What do you think about Overkill, and how do you plan on utilizing him? Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you soon.
Deep in the shadows of the dark, forgotten bay, a silent titan rusted, shoved and cast away. His logic system slumbered, circuits frozen cold, until the high commander bade the protocol fold. And after realized the speaker with the propaganda scream, and painted him a neon, a nightmare and a dream. Now hear the hydraulic pistons, the heavy earthquake roll, as the automated general takes total battlefield control. He is Overkill, commander of the steel, the silicone commander who has forgotten how to feel, with a double barrel fury bursting from his chest like wide, and an army of androids marching closely at his side. Step into the fire, bow down to the machine, the deadliest creation that the world has ever seen. Beneath the golden helmet, beneath the chrome and white, lies a ghost born to show life is near, a killer born of fire. Robert Skelton earned his wages in a dusty desert ditch, and executing heroes with the machine guns twitch. For a double month of payments he cut their lifeline short, then fled to Italian shadows to escape a lord. The coil tracked the hunter and the general shot him down, and they dragged his bleeding body from the ruins of the town. Flying laboratory where the surgical saws came, they carved away his vanity to realize the claim. Cobra schemes entire, and the general shot him down, and they dragged his bleeding body from the ruins of the town. He is Overkill, commander of the steel, the silicon commander who has forgotten how to feel, with a double-barreled fury bursting from his chest make wide, and an army of androids marching closely at his side. And step into the fire, bow down to the machine, the deadliest creation that the world has ever seen. Of the steel, the silicon commander who has forgotten how to feel, with a double-barreled fury bursting from his chest but wide, and an army of androids marching closely at his side. Step into the fire, bow down to the machine, the deadliest creation that the world has ever seen.